afternoon and welcome to Seniors Count. I am your host, Tula Mall. On our show, we believe that you are the foundation on which Boston was built. So our goal is to connect you to resources, benefits, and information to enhance your life. Thank you for joining us. Joining me today is Dr. Jan Schiffner, the Director of Midlife Women's Health Center at Massachusetts General Hospital. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Tula.
Oh, no problem. So why don't we start by telling us a little bit about the Midlife Women's Center and how women's health changes when they go into midlife?
That's a great question. So typically, women come to see us at midlife because of symptoms. The most common symptom that women experience at the transition, hot flashes, and they can be very bothersome. About 25% of women are really lucky and they don't have hot flashes, but the 75% left can be very bothered by them. They can occur during the day and disrupt work and activities, and then the worst ones are the ones that happen at night. We typically call those night sweats, and they can wake women several times during the night, and then it's hard to fall back asleep and you wake up feeling tired.
Yeah, that can be tough. So, you know, the midlife for women there's a range of age where that can happen. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The most typical age of menopause, and menopause is officially defined as when you haven't had a period for a full year. The most typical age is 51, but there's a lot of variability. In some women, it could be mid-40s, some women, it could be mid-50s, and that would all be considered normal.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know of some people that are doing it earlier, like in their late 30s, which is really surprising to me. And then, you know, I know of women who it happened much, much later. So I never delved into it, but it's very interesting that there can be such a range of time period when that can happen to you.
If menopause happens before 40, then that woman really should check in with her healthcare provider because that's probably something a little bit different.
Okay.
But if it's after 40, especially after 45, that's pretty typical.
And what are some of the other changes that happen during midlife?
So what's interesting is that women come to see us typically because of the hot flashes, because they're bothersome and they'd like some treatment. But we try to use that visit not just to focus on the bothersome symptoms, but on all of the really important changes that are happening at that time of life. So this is a great time for women to kind of take stock and how they want to age. Because we're really fortunate now that women can expect to spend about a third of their lives beyond menopause. And that's, of course, very different than 100 years ago when women often didn't live that long beyond menopause. But now we've got about a third of our lives left. So the goal is to make that third very healthy. So women lose their estrogen when they go through menopause. And in addition to causing hot flashes, that can cause bone loss.
Oh. Okay.
So we really encourage women to take midlife as a time to think about building healthy bones. And ways to do that are just to try to get the healthiest diet you can, including a lot of calcium and vitamin D. And things like milk, yogurt, cheese, cottage cheese are great sources of calcium and vitamin D. And if a woman can get about 3 to 4 servings of high calcium foods a day, she doesn't even need a supplement.
And is this something that you can start at any point? So, I mean, something people can start younger or at any point. As soon as you start, you know, eating more calcium-rich foods, you're going to automatically start building calcium, or did you have to start at a certain time?
It's actually great for people to get in the habit of getting lots of calcium throughout their lives, especially women, because women can lose a lot of calcium with pregnancy and nursing. So it's good to kind of have a diet that's high in, you know, calcium-containing foods. But it's really important for women at midlife because as you lose your estrogen, you will start losing bone. And the goal is to put off that bone loss or to slow it down as much as possible. And the major ways women can do that are by consuming lots of high calcium-containing foods and weight-bearing exercise.
And so, so when they lose estrogen, putting that back into their bodies isn't an option, right? Isn't something that needs to happen, or is this because that's just the natural process? Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's a great question, Tula. So some postmenopausal women do choose to take estrogen. And the major indication, really the only indication to take estrogen after menopause is bothersome hot flashes.
Okay.
There are some non-hormonal treatments for hot flashes that are effective, but without doubt, the most effective treatment we have for bothersome hot flashes and night sweats is estrogen therapy. If a woman has a uterus, then she also has to take another hormone called progestin with the estrogen to protect the uterus. And estrogen's really effective. It does have some risks, but for a healthy woman in her early 50s with bothersome hot flashes, it can be a great option.
And this doesn't reintroduce your period, right? It just Or can you talk about that? Because to me, that sounds like you got estrogen when you were in your teens, and therefore that's why your body started, menstruating.
Cycling. There are ways that we can give postmenopausal women estrogen where they won't get their periods back. So we can treat the hot flashes and periods won't come back. There are some risks to estrogen, particularly long-term estrogen use and estrogen use in older women. It can be associated with slight increases in the risk of things like breast cancer or heart disease, but that's really only with either long-term use or in use over age 60. So if someone's pretty healthy at the menopause transition with bothersome hot flashes, she should really speak to her healthcare provider about options, both hormonal and non-hormonal.
So for someone who is going through the transition but hasn't noticed any symptoms, is this something they need to bring up with their doctor?
They really should, because again, as you've gone through the menopause, you stop making estrogen. The ovaries are no longer making estrogen. And so you're very lucky if you don't have hot flashes, but you will be losing bone. And this is also a really good time for women to take stock in their long-term heart health. Because what we know is with both aging and maybe with menopause, but particularly with aging, we become less heart healthy. And lifestyle changes can make a huge difference. Unfortunately, heart disease is the #1 cause of death for women. So if women can kind of take midlife as a time to take stock and really get their hearts healthy, they will do much better as they age.
Does the Midlife Women's Health Center provide services for that, or do they show people how to get their heart healthier?
Well, really, you don't even have to come to the Midlife Women's Health Center. Your internist, your nurse practitioner, your regular healthcare provider should be really able to help you become heart healthy. And I think most people know what they need to do. It's just getting there. Clearly, we should all try to maintain a healthy weight. It's even more important. Most women, as they go through the menopause transition in age, will gain weight. So unless you eat less and exercise more, it'll happen. So this is a great time to try to get a regular exercise regimen, to try to cut out extra calories, to try to build a diet that's healthier in fruits and vegetables, lean protein, whole grains. And exercise is probably the most important intervention. The goal is for at least 30 minutes of something active every day.
So why would someone come specifically to the Midlife Women's Health Center versus just talking to their physician?
They typically come to see us when they've spoken with their physician and they're still at a loss of what to do. So let's say they have hot flashes and their own clinician is having trouble helping them, or it's a more complicated situation. The woman has breast cancer and hot flashes, and so she's not a candidate for estrogens and may need more extensive discussion about alternatives.
What other services does the Women's Health Center, I don't know why I'm struggling with the name of your center.
That's okay.
The Midlife Women's Health Center provides.
One of the main goals of the Mass General Midlife Women's Health Center is to educate both the public and healthcare providers about this important time of life. And so we run 2 conferences every year. We have what's called a CME conference for healthcare providers, where we provide a full day of education. And then we have another conference that for the community, for women and other people in the community. And that's at the Mass General, and I'll put in a plug. The date is this coming Tuesday, May 5th, from 4 to 6:30 at the Mass General. It is free and open to the public. And at this conference, we have 4 great speakers.
So I want to get to that, but I wanted to get to that in the second half of the show. I want to learn more about what happens at the Midlife Women's Health Center.
Yeah, so really the center is almost a virtual center. It involves about 25 clinicians who represent every aspect of healthcare at the Mass General that might impact midlife women's health. So we have a nutritionist and a breast surgeon and a few gynecologists, a urologist. I should have mentioned that involuntary loss of urine or urine incontinence is another problem that can happen to women as they age. And I think the most important message is that women need to speak to their healthcare providers about things that are bothering them as they go through the menopause transition, not to be shy.
So, and what happens, so a lot of our audience may be in their later years. Maybe they've already gone through menopause, now they're in their 60s or 70s. Can you talk about changes that happen to women in those years and maybe how the Midlife Women's Health Center could help them?
Well, absolutely. So what I would really encourage is that women who are in that age group, they still have hopefully lots of healthy years left. So they have to really focus on keeping their bones strong. And as we mentioned before, that would be regular weight-bearing exercise and lots of high calcium containing foods. They should really focus on keeping their heart healthy. And again, that would be with exercise, healthy diet, maintaining a healthy weight, working with their own healthcare providers to make sure their blood pressure and cholesterol are heart healthy. And then there are symptoms, although hot flashes get better with time, Tula, unfortunately, symptoms like vaginal dryness can get worse. And what we found is that many women are either shy or embarrassed and don't talk to their health providers about some of their sexual concerns. And so we know that women are active and intimate for many years beyond menopause. And so I really want to encourage women out there in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, if this is important to them and they're having any difficulties, they should really bring that up with their healthcare provider. They shouldn't be shy, because there are lots of interventions that can really keep intimacy pleasurable for many years beyond menopause.
So I want to continue that conversation, but we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to continue this conversation.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving.
Why? What did I do?
Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave.
Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Welcome back to Seniors Count. I'm here today with Dr. Jan Schifrin from the Midlife Women's Health Center, and we're talking about the center and some other stuff that's happening there. So we left the conversation, we were talking about older women and some of the changes that they're dealing with. Can you just summarize what you were talking about before the break, and then we'll continue from there?
Tula, what we found is that as women age, hot flashes usually go away, but symptoms such as vaginal dryness just get worse. As the ovaries no longer make estrogen, that can have a lot of changes in the body, and one of the really profound ones is severe vaginal dryness. And what we've found is that this can really affect intimacy, and yet women don't talk to their healthcare providers about it. And unfortunately, a lot of healthcare providers don't ask. So I'd really like to encourage women out there to be brave and to discuss this problem with their healthcare providers if it's bothering them, because there are a lot of great interventions.
And can they learn more about this maybe online or as a way to find out information before they bring it to their doctor?
Absolutely. There's a great website. It's called menopause.org. And that's the website of our North American Menopause Society. And half of the website is designed for women, and it has a lot of great information about treatments for hot flashes and vaginal dryness and a lot of other concerns that women may have at this time of life.
Okay. And vaginal dryness, is that a normal part of the aging process? Or is that something that happens to specifically some women versus other, like hot flashes?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of women will experience vaginal dryness as they age. And for some women it's bothersome, and for some women it's not. But if it's bothersome, there are over-the-counter products that can work very well, and there are a lot of great, very safe prescription products. So I really just want women out there to know that they are not alone. This is a very common problem, and they shouldn't be shy. Bring it up with their healthcare providers.
Absolutely. I think sometimes women get embarrassed about things that are happening to their body, and doctors can be so a little rigid sometimes, so you're not sure, like, can I say this in your doctor's office? But absolutely, we absolutely recommend that anything that comes up.
Absolutely.
And something that I do is I'll write my questions down, and go in, so that way I won't forget in my state of nervousness or anxiety or
That's a
in
great
the
idea.
rush.
So I love it when people come in with a list. And you know, another good thing to do is bring in a friend or family member and talk to them about your concerns before you head in. And then often, if you forget to mention them, they've got the list with them as well.
That's such a good idea. So let's go back to the event that you started mentioning that the center will be holding. So you hold 2 conferences. Tell us about them again.
So really one of the goals, the major goal of the Midlife Women's Health Center at the Mass General is just education about midlife and hopefully to create a community where women at midlife get better care. And so we do 2 things. We have one conference where we educate healthcare providers, and then we have a wonderful conference, which I'd love to share with this group, which is designed for the community. It's free and it's being offered on Tuesday, May 5th at the Mass General from 4 to 6:30 p.m. And to register, all you need to do is email my administrative assistant. Her name is right on a flyer that we'll have on the website. But to be honest, even if you didn't email Amelia, you could just come to the conference. It's at the Mass General. And we have 4 great speakers. We're covering 4 topics that are really important to women at this stage of life. We have a nutritionist who will be talking about healthy diet and how to maintain a healthy weight. We have a cardiologist who will be speaking about how to keep your heart healthy. And then we will have one expert talking about the treatment of typical symptoms such as hot flashes and vaginal dryness. And our 4th speaker will be speaking about sleep. Because a really common concern for women as they age is that they just don't feel they have the quality sleep they had when they were younger.
Why is that?
I don't think we really know.
okay.
I mean, there's some studies that as we age, we need less sleep.
Yep.
And on the other hand, we're not really sure, but sleep quality can often decrease as women age. And so one of our physicians will be speaking to the audience about ways to improve sleep quality.
Okay. So to go back to the event, so the event is free.
Free.
Right, and you don't need it. You can register, and we'll put that on. I think the email is eobryan11@partners.org, or you can always call the Elderly Commission. We can make sure to connect you. And so again, the date is
Tuesday, May 5th, from 4 to 6:30 at the Mass General. And we'll have 4 speakers between 4 and 6, and then we have a lovely free reception with some delicious food to follow. And that's also a nice time where you can speak one-on-one with our presenters.
Yeah, or with other women in the group, right? So it's a
Exactly.
way to kind of share some, if people want to.
Absolutely.
Which something may come up. So can you talk a little bit more about other common concerns that happen to women in midlife that maybe don't have to do with menopause, or maybe they do, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of them. I mean, a lot of women come in with concerns about their weight.
Okay.
And as we know, maintaining a healthy weight throughout our lives, especially as we age, is really critical to heart health and longevity.
Yeah.
So a lot of women come in concerned about that. And as everyone knows, there are all sorts of interesting diets and programs. And at the end of the day, it's just, the sad news is it's fewer calories in and more calories out. So the women who exercise tend to do much better across the midlife transition. They don't gain weight the way other women do. So exercise is really important. And just careful diet, there's no magic.
So can you talk a little bit about, so the other conference that you guys hold for educating physicians or other doctors, can you talk a little bit about that? I'd be interested to know what that entails.
Absolutely. That's a full one-day course that we're offering on Friday, July 17th at the Wyndham, right next to the Mass General. And it is for what's called certified medical education. It's really open to physicians, nurse practitioners. We have a great series of speakers. One speaker will be speaking on sexual concerns at midlife specifically. Someone else will be speaking about, something that I really should have brought up, about postmenopausal bleeding. So any bleeding that a woman has after it's been a full year without a period would be considered abnormal. So it's really important for the women watching this program to know that if they experience any bleeding after menopause, they need to let their healthcare provider know right away. So one of our speakers will be talking about that, evaluating and managing any bleeding. That's very important for women to bring to their healthcare provider's attention. And then we have a great speaker on heart health and bone health. Headaches, that can be a problem for women throughout their lives. And some women find that their headaches get actually much better after menopause. And
So
some
headaches
women,
around menstruation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are a lot of women who have hormone-related headaches.
okay.
They might get worse right around their periods. And for a lot of those women, The good news is when they go through menopause, those headaches go away.
Oh, wow.
But we do have some women for whom headaches get
Just doesn't.
worse after menopause. Yeah.
There's always one thing or the other, right? So it's interesting that that the center does this. And can you explain to me, maybe you know some background as to why the center was created? Was there a disconnection with physicians and women's health as they aged, or do you have any idea about?
Yeah, it's a great question, Tula. So I think what we felt is that there were a lot of people at the Mass General with expertise in the care of older women and postmenopausal women. But we weren't together as a group.
Okay.
And so by collecting
Sharing.
under one roof about 25 clinicians, we have, again, nutritionists and social service people, psychologists and psychiatrists and heart experts and bone experts, plastic surgeon, you name it, dermatologists. We've got a great group. It's been a wonderful way for us to learn more about midlife women's health in these different areas.
Okay.
And I think together we're really better able to educate both the community and other healthcare providers about how to keep women healthy beyond menopause.
Because I'm assuming a lot of doctors learn and work in their silos. So if you're cardiovascular, you're really just thinking about the heart all the time. And maybe if your patient says something that may be related to midlife, they don't know, they're not thinking, oh, I should connect them with a doctor. So I think that's a really great way to make sure these people connect. And I think a lot of other medical groups are doing that, right? So education what do we want to call that? Cross-functional?
You're absolutely right. Well, like a perfect example is, a 48-year-old woman with breast cancer. So often the treatments for breast cancer will bring on menopause. So in addition to needing oncologists to help her with the actual breast cancer, she may now be experiencing hot flashes, vaginal dryness, bone loss, sleep problems. So it is really important that we, care for women in a much more global way.
Yeah, and a more holistic, and thinking about
Absolutely.
all the different pieces, not just the one that one doctor is. So very interesting. What has your feedback been from, I guess, both sides? I'm assuming you've done this before.
Well, this is exciting. This is just our second year of holding these conferences.
Exciting.
And we had a wonderful group of community women, a few men, I think, as well, attend last year. We're hoping for an even bigger turnout this year. I think people really enjoyed it. And as you said, Tula, they not only enjoyed the speakers, we had a different group of topics last year, but they really enjoyed connecting to other women, being able to connect to the presenters over snacks after the conference. So it really was a great community event.
Great. Well, we're almost out of time. So why don't you tell us one more time the date, and I can just say the email if you'd like.
Wonderful. So it is going to be Tuesday, May 5th, so just about 3 weeks from now. It's in the O'Keefe Auditorium at the Mass General, but if you just arrived at the Mass General and asked for the conference, someone would direct you down the hall to the O'Keefe. And I think most people know we're very accessible by public transportation, right on the Red Line at Charles Street, MGH. If you do have an email, it would be great if in advance you could email Amelia O'Brien, and that's eobrien11@partners.org. But if you can't email her and you just show up, we'd still be happy to have you.
Great. Well, we're so happy to help you promote this, and we hope to promote other things that you guys are doing in the future.
So grateful. This has really been a pleasure. Thanks so much, Tula.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for watching Seniors Count, brought to you by Mayor Martin J. Walsh and our Commissioner Emily Shea. To contact us, please call 617-635-4366 or the Mayor's 24-hour hotline at 617-635-4500. You can also email us at elderly@boston.gov, and you can find us on Facebook. See you next time.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself,